Welcome to my channel. I hope you like video. Subscribe and let's start new story. The night was unusually quiet as Emily walked home from her late shift at the diner. Dark clouds gathered ominously above, and soon, heavy rain began to pour. She quickened her pace, pulling her jacket tighter around her. The streets were empty, and the dim streetlights barely pierced the darkness. She felt a shiver down her spine, but brushed it off as the cold. Unbeknownst to her, a pair of eyes watched her from the shadows. The figure moved silently, blending with the darkness, following her every step. The storm masked the sound of his footsteps. Emily finally reached her apartment building, relieved to be out of the rain. She fumbled for her keys, her hands trembling slightly. As she entered the dimly lit lobby, she noticed a muddy footprint on the floor. Her heart skipped a beat. The footprint was too large to belong to any of her neighbors. She glanced around, but the lobby was empty. Ignoring her growing unease, she hurried to her apartment, locking the door behind her. She felt a sense of safety, but little did she know the stalker was already inside the building. Emily decided to take a hot shower to shake off the cold and the unsettling feeling. As she stepped out, her phone rang, echoing eerily in the silence. She didn't recognize the number but answered anyway. A deep, raspy voice on the other end sent chills down her spine. "I've been watching you, Emily," the voice said. Panic surged through her as she realized the stalker knew her name. She hung up, her hands shaking, and checked the locks again. She knew she wasn't alone. Trying to calm herself, Emily turned on the TV and sat on the couch, clutching a blanket. Every noise seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the apartment into darkness. Her heartbeat quickened, and she reached for her phone, using the flashlight to navigate. As she moved through the hallway, she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure in the corner of her eye. She turned quickly, but there was nothing there. The sense of being watched intensified. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that someone was in her apartment. She tried to stay calm, but every creak and groan of the old building made her jump. She decided to call the police, but the line was dead. Panic set in as she realized her only option was to leave. Gathering her courage, she grabbed her keys and headed for the door. As she opened it, a hand reached out from the darkness, pulling her back inside. She screamed, struggling against the iron grip. Breaking free from the assailant's grasp, Emily ran down the hallway, her heart pounding. She could hear heavy footsteps behind her, closing in. She darted into the stairwell, descending as fast as she could. Her breath came in ragged gasps, and her legs felt like they would give out. The stalker's presence was relentless, a dark shadow just behind her. She burst through the exit door, into the rain-soaked streets, hoping to find safety in the open. The storm raged on, masking her cries for help. Emily ran through the deserted streets, her clothes drenched and clinging to her skin. She spotted a convenience store with lights on and sprinted toward it, desperate for sanctuary. The door chimed as she entered, and the clerk looked up, startled by her disheveled appearance. She explained in hurried breaths about the stalker, and the clerk quickly locked the door. For a moment, Emily felt a glimmer of hope. But as they looked outside, the dark figure stood under a flickering streetlight, watching her. The clerk called the police while Emily hid behind the counter, her eyes never leaving the figure outside. Minutes felt like hours as they waited. Suddenly, the lights in the store flickered and went out. The door creaked open, and the figure stepped inside. Emily's heart raced as she tried to remain silent. The stalker moved methodically through the aisles, searching for her. Just as he approached her hiding spot, sirens wailed in the distance. The stalker froze, then fled into the night. Emily collapsed in relief as the police arrived, but the haunting image of the midnight stalker remained etched in her mind. Thanks for watching, and see you in a new story.